Happy Tuesday and welcome to the Black Media Matters studio here at Converge. It's the pop-up, y'all, and I'm here. Your host this evening, Sean Goode, with Gordon McHenry, my dear friend and brother, mentor, that served in a variety of different ways in my life, and I'm looking forward to sharing you through my lens with the Converge community, but furthermore, allowing the Converge community to learn more about you outside of the many roles that you've played in our region. But first things first, I, Sean, got all the sponsors. You like what I did there, Eric? You see what I was working with? First up, want to make sure we shout out We Rise Wines, y'all. The pop-up is made possible because of We Rise Wines, and you absolutely have to check them out. We Rise Wines, a Black and LGBTQ plus owned gem in downtown Seattle that's championing inclusivity and spotlighting incredible underrepresented winemakers. Come visit them at 1913 2nd Avenue to treat yourself to their exclusive private label wines. Join their amazing community and find your new favorite bottle today. Gordon, have you been to We Rise Wines before?
I was looking for my glass tonight.
I mean, we could have cheers. You know, the best part is too is they have non-alcoholic wines, right? So it works no matter what your disposition is. To be able to show up, celebrate, get some charcuterie, some wine. They got events. It's an active space. And if you go down to Pike Place, there's no excuse why not to walk up the street and end your day with a nice bottle and good company.
I'm working on it.
Come on, We Rise Wines. First pop-up, you know what? Maybe we start bringing it in and have bottles out here, right there, right? And
you're going to drink from the bottle, aren't you?
I mean, I don't think we're taking it there.
All right.
Also, Coleman Commons. Coleman Commons is Seattle's premier. In fact, this is when I'm going to put my O voice on. Coleman Commons is Seattle's premier waterfront cultural venue and creative event destination, uniquely located in the historic Coleman building where the waterfront meets Pioneer Square. Visit ColemanCommons.com today to book a space for your upcoming event. Big O, I don't know if you're still here, but I hope I honored you well. Coleman Commons is a gift. Most people who have been to the Black Media Matters studio think this building begins and ends here. On the back side of here, there's an incredible event space that Converge has opened up to the community. Just last weekend, right? Well, I think it was last weekend where Takia had the art opening, right? Yeah. Where there was a gallery walk. On Thursday, there's a private event that they're doing here to christen the space. Did you go back there at all?
I did not.
Okay, Gordon, when we get done, we'll walk back there together so you can take a look at what it is that they've created. It's beautiful to not just have space, but to have Black-owned space that's intentionally cultivating events and activations for our community to be heard, felt, and seen. And Coleman Commons is a gift in that way.
All right.
And those are the two announcements. And then there's you, right? Gordon McHenry. I think, come off the graphic, can you just put Gordon's face? Just Gordon's face. Yeah, look at that. Say hi to the world, Gordon.
Good evening.
I want to say a few things about Gordon with just being Gordon's face. Okay. Just Gordon's face. What people may know Gordon from his time at Rainier Scholars. They may know Gordon from his time at Solid Ground. They may know him from his most recent time in service to the United Way of King County as CEO. And there's many things about what he's accomplished in those spaces and the spaces that preceded those through his law career that are of note and should be worthy of recognition. Gordon, to me, has been something different than the many roles that he served in. Gordon, for me, personifies what intergenerational leadership done well looks like. Gordon has intentionally walked alongside me over the past decade in the variety of different ways that I've been in service to community. He's been a brother when I've needed one. He's been an uncle when I've needed one. And he's even been a father when I've needed one. But most importantly, throughout it all, he's been a friend. And a friend that's been willing to tell me the truth when I needed to hear it, to comfort and hold me when I needed space to be me. He's been generous enough to position me in ways where others could experience my wonder.
Absolutely.
And it is truly an honor to not only know you, to have been held by you, to be witnessed by you, but to continue to journey alongside you as you enter into this next chapter of your life. Gordon, when I had the opportunity to identify a guest to join me on this evening, there's nobody better to sit across from me than you, this brilliant, beautiful Black man that I absolutely love and adore. Gordon McHenry, Converge family.
Thank you. That's incredibly kind and generous, and the feeling and the experiences are very much mutual.
Yeah.
It's been a good, we think, 20-something years.
Yeah.
And I'm praying it continues.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about why today is special. But before I do that, I want to talk about something that happened for me this weekend and a bit of a revelation I had. On Saturday, I went to a Moja Fest. And folks don't know this, but I want to be clear. The Sunday at a Moja Fest is really where the love story with my wife begins. So a Moja Fest is a sacred place for me and for us for that particular reason. See, because what happened was this, Gordon. I was going to be doing poetry at a Moja on a Saturday, and I did. But my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, confused the days, and she came on Sunday. I just so happened to be there on Sunday as well. This was so long ago that a Moja vendors were only taking cash, right? So this is before all of the digital payment opportunities that are in front of us today. And she was there with her friend on a Sunday. And I really wanted to get some time just talking to her. And her friend was like, well, I want to go get something to eat. And she went, came back, was like, it's cash only. And then that was one of those moments where they were going to leave to go to the ATM together. And I gave her friend the last $7 that I had. Last $7. I remember specifically $7. And her friend went to go buy food. And I stayed and talked to who is now my wife. And that will forever be the best $7 that I've ever spent in my life. And I'm grateful for that Sunday at Umoja. Yes. So I went Saturday, and not only was I reflecting on the gift of that space and how it created what I get to live into with my wife, but also how much Seattle is my family. Mm-hmm. I didn't grow up with a lot of cousins. I didn't grow up with a lot of uncles. In fact, I didn't really grow up with cousins or uncles, right? Even my siblings, we weren't always close. There was distance. But in all the years that I've been in this community, whether in South King County or in Seattle, when I look back at the people who know me and who have known me, it's us. Mm-hmm. I walked into Umoja, and from the people who were operating security to Ty, who I played basketball with when my friend Alvin and I used to sneak into Bally Total Fitness in Kent when we were teenagers. Just one person after the next that holds memories of me, right, in ways that I could never hold for myself. And so I just continue to fall in love with Seattle. Every time Seattle shows up and shows out, it reminds me of why this place is special. Mm-hmm. Which is why you are so special to me, Gordon, because you are a memory keeper of so much of this journey that I've had the privilege to live.
Yes.
But today is a special day. What is today? Today is
Election Day.
Today is Election Day. And Converge has been really generous over the past couple of weeks of inviting in candidates who are running for political office to be able to share their platform, what it is that they're imagining, what their hopes are for our community. And today is the day that we honor their showing up. by filling out our ballot. For you, connection to voting is more than a civic responsibility. In fact, you've been around long enough on this earth for your history to be tied to a time where this privilege that we exercise today wasn't readily available.
Absolutely.
Eric, could you pull up that picture? Like,
Yes.
tell me what we're looking at here.
We're looking at a beautiful woman, the tall one. That's my mother. Her name at the time was Mildred Long, and with her are her nieces, who are like a sister to me. And this is the colored entrance to the Terrell, Texas train station. And as you can see, there's a white person standing there making sure that everything was okay on the colored side of the station. And I carry this around with me because this was sometime in the 1952 to 1953, we think. And I was born in 1957. So this is my mom leaving Texas one more time. And then the next phase of her life was becoming a mother to me and then to my brother. And so a lot of my stories and a lot of my perceptions and perspectives are the result of a really beautiful person growing up in a really hateful, segregated, oppressive community. And the reason she came to Seattle was to get away from that, to be free of the segregated South. My dad was born in Tyler, Texas. But he grew up in Spokane, Washington, where they were just one of a handful of black families in Spokane. So before it became ultra sensitive, I used to tell people when they say, "Who are you?" and "What's your ancestor?" I said, "My ancestors immigrated from the former Republic of Texas." And people in Texas tended to see themselves that way. And our role was to do what they told us to do. Chattel slavery. Build the community. My mom grew up literally on the other side of the tracks. And I have stories and I have some memories when I was 6 years old of walking with my mom and dad on the colored side of the town. And it was dark. And it was my brother and myself, my mom and my dad. And we're walking on the sidewalk. And all of a sudden we just abruptly they stepped into the street and pulled my brother and me into the street. And it was abrupt enough. I looked at my mom and said, "Mom, what's going on?" She said, "Shh, shh." And then after a moment, she says, "That's what we do when a white person is on the sidewalk." So 6 years old, beginning to understand that our role was in that part of Texas, that part of the world, was distinctly different than growing up on Beacon Hill, running around, in the street. We didn't have sidewalks, but in the streets, on the sides of the streets. And the only expectation was check in and do your homework and then be home by sunset. If the street lights come on, you're in trouble. Be home for dinner, be home by sunset. But in Terrell, Texas, in the mid-'60s, we yielded the sidewalk to white people.
Yeah, there's something about giving up space for others, yielding to others so they could take up more space, as if the space that you're taking up is somehow less than theirs. Yeah. You know, Gordon, when you talk about your mother and when you invite your father in, can you say his name for us?
My father is Gordon A. McHenry.
Yeah.
So I'm the second Gordon A. McHenry, and every day I am grateful for how he raised me and how he honored my mother and set me up for the opportunities and successes I've had. Yeah. And to carry his name.
Yeah. And that image of your mother ushering you off the sidewalk is a powerful one, not only because like it's your lived experience, but also you have made a career of assuring people can put both their feet firmly in the space that they're in and stand with integrity, stand with dignity, and stand in their wholeness.
Yeah.
Do you consider your parents and how they would bear witness?
A lot of my experiences were rooted in the family structure up on Beacon Hill. Incredibly diverse, ethnically diverse community, socioeconomically diverse. We felt like it was a physically safe community, and there were just lots of young people. So we had this community of walking to school. Back then, when you walked to school. And you walked home from school more often than not. And so there's a lot of sense of this community that was your geographic community, the 1 block or the 2 blocks or the 3 blocks. And then every Sunday we went to church in Mount Zion Baptist Church, and where Reverend McHenry was the minister for most of my time going there. And so we drive from Beacon Hill all the way to the central area, to Mount Zion. And then there was this special place, this spiritual place, and it was 100% to 99, 98% black. And we prayed together, we sang together, we celebrated, we cried together, and it was there was a rich culture. It was religious, but it was also based upon the African American experience. And for many of within my parents' generation, they had intentionally migrated to Seattle for a better life, to be liberated of a life of segregation and marginalization. And by far, Seattle was far from perfect, but there were so much more opportunities for them and for us. And so a lot of that was just like my mom would say, you can't go around with a chip on your shoulder. We're here. Your dad and I are raising you here because we want you to have a better life and more opportunity. So be proud of who you are. Be proud of your being black. Then it was, what was it? Probably Negro, but be proud of being black. And then whatever you do, be true to yourself and don't embarrass the family and don't embarrass your race. And so a lot of that, when people talk nowadays about navigating, multiple spaces, my parents were preparing me for that all along, and dropping in little stories of power and black pride into the reality of there's still a lot of danger, still a lot of traps, and there's still a lot of hurdles. And in fact, we do expect you to work harder. We do expect you to behave. We do expect you to aspire. And you're going to have to work harder than other people because society is, there are barriers out there for, and even though we love you and believe in you, you've got to be prepared for a rough life.
And you've been in this community for such a long time and have experienced it through so many of its transitions. And I'm curious, as you've witnessed these decades, and it's hard for me to say that when I look at you, right? Because like the gift of melanated people clearly shines well on you, Gordon.
God has been good to me. I'm blessed.
Yeah, like age is a construct.
True.
And especially for you, because it would not be known unless you told it to be so. I'm curious how you experience even the most recent things happening in city government, with the police chief, with the mayor, even the violence that occurred at the Bite of Seattle. Like, I'm curious about your take on that through this lens of history that you've been able to like move through. And how you see it playing out in 2026. But before you go into that, like, let's catch a break, and then we'll pick up on that right when we get back on the other side. And
make sure all the people who are watching are filling out their ballots, and we'll run that 1 hour to run to the the ballot box.
Yeah, if you haven't circled the dot yet, right? Fill in the dots. Fill in your ballots. Get it to a drop box. This is streaming, and it will be available for restream. So make sure you drop the ballots today because we don't get to listen to Gordon in the way that we hear his voice, and not for people being civically engaged and active in our community.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Amen.
Gordon. See you on the other side of the break, y'all.
Experience the revitalized spirit of the Seattle waterfront at Coleman Commons, a premier event space where modern luxury meets local charm. Unwind in our serene wellness spaces or find inspiration browsing unique exhibits from local artists. Our space offers the perfect backdrop to connection with friends, neighbors, and community. Fit from everything from company galas to your girl's birthday party. Looking to book a space for your event? Visit ColemanCommons.com today.
Every night inside the studio, history is captured. Moments of profound vulnerability, moments of fierce accountability, and unforgettable moments of pure Black joy and creativity.
This isn't just a broadcast. The pop-up on Converge Media is Seattle's living, breathing archive of Black excellence in urban culture. For months, you've wrapped up your night with us at 9 p.m., but the conversation is growing, and we need you at the table just a little bit earlier.
Set your reminders and join us live every weekday evening at 7 p.m. Same raw truth, just 2 hours earlier. Stream us on your phone, your TV, and everywhere you get Converge. The town square opens at 7 p.m.
Happy Tuesday and welcome to the pop-up. I'm here with my dear friend and mentor, Gordon McHenry. Gordon, right before we went to break, you had shared a story about you at 6 years old, where you were walking down the street in Texas with your mother, and she ushered you into the road, and it was shocking, and then told you to be still, to be quiet. And then once a couple moments had passed, she pointed back and said, "That's what we do when white men are walking down the sidewalk. We get out the way." And while we were at break, I was sharing that, like, you would, as a child, think that you want to get moved out of the street because danger is coming. But your experience was getting moved into the street because danger was coming.
Yeah.
And at the age of 6, that creates a really unique dynamic with whiteness. And then you come home to the Northwest, Beacon Hill, where you're living in a richly diverse community and connecting with peers and friends that are a reflection of all different parts of the world at that time.
Yes, that's true.
And also have your experience at Mount Zion, right, which is a uniquely Black experience at that time.
Right.
And so there's these 3 different worlds that you're drawing from. The world that your parents grew up in Texas, where it's safer to be in the street than on the sidewalk. The community of Beacon Hill, where you're learning what it looks like to coexist and play and be present and imagine with folks that don't look like you in ethnicity, but like are connected to you through age, through joy, through proximity. And then your sacred space, a Black space where Black folks could gather and be unapologetically what they are without the need to find themselves pushed into the road, right? Or compromising in community. These 3 different lenses were really powerful in shaping your worldview.
Right.
And I'm curious, as you take those lenses and bring them forward, and you look at the state of Seattle today, what is it that you're witnessing?
You and I both know the power of contextual communication, especially when you're in positions of leadership, and it could be as simple as, well, just do what I ask you to do, but people don't fully understand, your rationale, your perspective, or your hopes. When you asked me that question, my mind went to the incredible joy that I had when Barack Obama was elected president. And contextually, I'm a recovering lawyer and a recovering political scientist. And so, I understood how this country was formed. I understood our levers of government and the branches of government. And I also witnessed, how we were lacking, how we were not visible, how we were not allowed into those halls of power. And so you have, Thurgood Marshall, beloved, but only one. We finally have Barack. And, for a few, I cried. Probably a lot of us did. And my mom cried.
My wife still celebrates his birthday. This morning she woke up and said, "It's my boo's birthday." Yeah. So yeah. So it's still a thing at the house.
It's still a thing at the house. And I was like, wow, demonstrable progress is being made. And then just a few years later, I'm watching and I'm thinking, wow, this is not just a one step forward. This is like 5 steps backwards. And it's just continued. And so we've been in this weird dynamic for 10, 12 years of tension that has existed in this country turning into rapidly bypassing friction and turning into conflict. And somebody acutely said, yeah, it's a culture war. It's a culture to minimize and to diminish and to control non-whites. And I just never thought that that's where we would be in 2016, 17, up through 2026. And so when things happen like with the police chief just a few days ago, when things happen with the police chief, Carmen Best, a few years ago, with the head of the Human Services Division a few years before that, a woman of color, followed by a gay white man, it does cause me to wonder how much more marginalization, tokenization will occur before some of these aspirations, these values that we aspire to actually have traction, and actually have traction here in Seattle, here in King County. And I love the embracing of populism when it's about bringing people along. But as you know, I've worked at Rainier Scholars and Solid Ground, and now, and most recently, United Way. We need leaders who are pragmatic. So I love the populism if it's rooted around ideals that are empowering and uplifting. But when you're a legislator, whether local or a city or county, or when you're an exec, your duty is to be efficient, to be effective, and to bring people along, and not to get caught up in talking or caught up in process, or even worse, in hypocrisy, or in denying your blessings, your privileges, and acting as if you're one of the people who need our support when actually you don't. And that means that you are leveraging their lived experience to benefit your political agenda or your popularity. And I am very concerned and very frustrated that we're seeing this a lot. And then we cloak it in, well, we're progressives and we're not like that other person. You can be harmful on the left and you can be harmful on the right. And the people who we need to support don't have the ability to just accept, they're being harmed. So it's not just headlines. It's not just a campaign. It's not a broken promise. It's harm. And our communities continue to be harmed by behavior of non-serious officials, or officials who aren't committed to understanding just how difficult it is to make progress on these issues.
I'm laughing because non-serious. That is like the most generous way to phrase that. Non-serious officials.
What I've learned now that I am no longer representing United Way or representing Solid Ground or Rainier Scholars or the Boeing Company is I do have the ability to speak a bit more candidly. Right. Like, I'm still growing into that.
You have opinions.
I do have opinions, yes.
And
independent
it's okay.
of my affiliation.
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
it's okay. I think that was one of the gifts that took me a little while to unwrap after I was no longer stewarding Choose 180.
Right.
Was the fact that I had cultivated a voice that was mine, but it was in service to.
Exactly.
And when it no longer had to be in service to, it was free to be completely a reflection of, right?
Yeah.
You talked about the mayor directly without talking about the mayor directly with such great ease and finesse that it reminds us all that you are a trained attorney or a recovering attorney, as you so eloquently put it. I want to invite you to be a little more direct. You've been in the Seattle community for a very long time, not only as a resident, but as someone who's been in service to the space with deep intention. When you, in fact, if you were to look at the camera, right, as Gordon McHenry, because this is the first time you've had a chance to do this outside of any role that you've been in.
Sure.
And I'd love to invite, if you look at the camera as Gordon McHenry, and you had a message as a voter in Seattle, as a lifelong resident of Seattle, to both the mayor and council, like what would that message be?
It would be to be more intentional about understanding the living experiences of the people in this city who have the least amount of resources and the most amount of stress, trauma, and oppression, and come up with strategies and policies that will probably take longer than your term of office, and commit yourself to doing that and bring us along in the process. But work together and don't waste a day, don't waste a minute, and do it in a way that is courageous and with integrity, and being mindful that the many issues that I see and that many of us see are the same ones that existed a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. We have too much homelessness. We have too much food insecurity, meaning hungry people. We have too much disproportionality in law enforcement. We don't have enough support for the educational system. The basics, we really need to work on the basics. And we need urgency. I'm doing my best to try not to get animated about our recent changes in terms of regional homelessness. But fundamentally, I feel like we're going back to where we were about 6 or 7 years ago, when all of us said that was a failure. And so I don't see that we have, I don't trust that we have a new solution. I don't trust that the interim is going to be smooth. I anticipate that people will be harmed as we make this dramatic shift, which is actually putting the vehicle in reverse. And at the same time, we spent years trying to say this is not acceptable, here's something better. And then 6 years into it, we say, it's not working, let's start over again. Again, that works for people who have power and privilege. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work for the people that we need to be in service to.
Yeah. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your truth. Like, as you speak, I can see that picture that you shared with us on the front end. And I can see the distance traveled for your mother, the distance traveled for your father, the distance you've traveled alongside them through this journey of life. Yeah. And it feels like a really long way. And in some moments in our current history, it feels like a hop, skip, and a jump.
Right.
And there's a wondering, have we even gone anywhere at all?
Right.
I want to explore more of what you imagine and how that imagination shows up in service to the collective in this season of life on the other side of this break.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here with me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Black women in Washington faced more than twice the risk of syphilis in 2024, but cases are falling as we learn the facts and look out for ourselves. Yet 1 in 10 pregnant cases were among Black women, but more than half of potential congenital cases were prevented with early care. Early testing makes a difference. Get tested and protect yourself. Protect your child. Protect the community.
Discover the new heartbeat of Seattle's waterfront at Coleman Commons. the Emerald City's premier event space where culture, creativity, and community come together. Looking to book a new space for your event? Visit ColemanCommons.com today.
When our community seeks answers, we just don't report the news. We hold the space for the solutions. The Pop-Up, bringing you face-to-face with policymakers, change makers, moving your city forward. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and essential. And now, we're going to come to you a little bit earlier. Tune into The Pop-Up weeknights at 7 p.m., where culture meets Converge.
Happy Tuesday, y'all, and welcome back to The Pop-Up. I'm here with Gordon McHenry. I'm your host this evening, Sean Goode. Right before we went to the break, Gordon, you offered an extended, passionate plea to the powers that be in this community for what it is that you hope, what it is that you imagine as a lifelong resident and community servant. And that's generous of you. And what's really special is I get it, and it's like learning how to walk again, to stand completely in your own agency with your perspective and your opinion, particularly in a time where everything is so clippable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like you'll say 5 minutes of deeply well-intended reflection, and 30 seconds will get clipped, and that 30 seconds will get shared, and it can be amplified or weaponized, and nobody will take the time to like go back and find it in context. And it works for us, and it also works against us. And I feel like administrations lead now weary of the clip, but also looking for the clip. They're both in pursuit of virality and weary of it simultaneously, that I don't know that we're getting honest dialogue in a way that's in service to the collective us, right? And more so, we're getting people in pursuit of the next viral moment that then will signal boost their popularity and get people leaning into who they are as an influencer. And we need more leaders and less influencers.
Yes.
And you, Gordon, have done such a job, an intentional job, a wonderful job, a purposeful job in supporting leaders' growth and development, with the understanding that like the role that you're in has always been impermanent. I've witnessed it in our time together on the Partnership Council for Juvenile Justice, where you served as chair and I served as vice chair for what my wife would say was an eternity. And I've witnessed it in community, and I've witnessed it in the different leadership roles that you've had. Can you talk a little bit about what it looks like to be able to witness how long the arc of justice truly is through a gaze that's transcended generations, have ideas about what could bring us forward with a more purposeful pace, and know that it can't be done without bringing up leaders alongside who have come into this journey at different moments along the curve. Succinctly, because you know I like to be wordy, you've done such a good job of bringing other leaders along. Can you talk about the significance of that to you and how that shows up in the way that you imagine our region moving forward?
Yeah, that's a deep question. I think for me, it was partway through my journey and recognizing just how transactional, let's put it this way, how transactional the United States is. And the reason I say that is actually it was an epiphany that I had at when I was at Solid Ground, which was part of an association of community action agencies, all born out of the 1960s and the war to end poverty. And so the idea was you were, you wanted to abolish poverty. And because you wanted to abolish poverty in the United States, you understood it's about race and class. And so they were telling this story. We were having, I think we were, anyway, there's not 39, but there's a bunch of us, and we were at our fall offsite. And a person was telling the story about a woman in Eastern Washington, and they were so proud that every year this person would come into those offices and ask for help with her heating bills and insulation and food. And the leading was on the insulation and also helping with the utility bill. And we're so good, we saw her again this year and we were so excited to be able to help her. And somebody, wasn't me, said, did you ever stop to find out why she comes to see you every year? And once you understand that, is there something more permanent, something more substantive that you can do to help her not be in need of public support and service? And I was sitting there, and you're in these multi-day meetings sort of drifting a little bit, and I was like, this person just nailed it. They saw that person as it was a transaction-based experience. They had money from the government or from the state. This person qualified. You receive it, on your way. But really, it should have been about relationships. Where do you live? What else can you do? What else can we do for you? What can we do to make sure that you don't have to see us, that you have more sovereignty, more autonomy over your own life? And so that, plus experiences with Rainier Scholars and Solid Ground and United Way, just helped me always say to myself, to what extent can we, as an institution or a middle person with resources, what can we do to have be in relationship with the people that we have the opportunity to engage? And so I think that was something that I think is still lacking. It is a trap for nonprofits because money is important. You have to grant money, or you have to raise the money. Without the money, you can't hire the employees, you can't deliver the services. But gosh, can't we do better if we are trying to seeking to be in relationship with folks? And so that was something that I was carrying with me. And for me, I say it's epiphany because remember, I'm a trained lawyer. I had clients. We had billables, and we did pro bono for free. But a lot of that was transaction-based. And then I go to the Boeing Company, and we're so proud of our products and engineering precision and incredible products. I was on the commercial airplane side. But what about the humans? And so you fast forward to COVID, and the world is upside down. People are just devastated. And that's when I and the United Way team said, we've got to do better at being in community. And there's all this data, a lot of from public health, that we know by statistical analysis and by geography where people are hurting the most. And can't we do a better job of being in relationship? And that became the basis of how I led United Way. It was because of COVID. We were called into action. We partnered with other nonprofits. We partnered with public health. And because it was the right thing to do, we prioritize race and class. We prioritize our people of color. And the board understood why we had to do that. And people thought that was remarkable. But no, it was the right thing to do. It's what I've been hearing in my ears from my mom and my dad, my wife, Filipino and Irish. Her stories growing up in Seattle. That is that undercurrent that cuts across our communities of color. Is we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be loved for who we are. For the many identities we each carry, and not for this construct that's known as race, which is just used as a cudgel to power, to overpower us.
There's a harmony that we're in pursuit of, where we can be fully seen as we are, without that being defined in a manner that marginalizes us when we've been seen.
Yes, exactly.
And the only way to bridge that is for us to no longer be enumerated, but to be in relationship with. And one of the things that feels missing civically at this time is deep relationships.
Absolutely.
Where decisions are being made in ways where there's relational tethers that folks are accountable to, and not clickbait. That they're worried about, or making sure that the consensus isn't moving in a direction because of the virality of a moment. I keep going back to that because after the horrific shooting at the Seattle Center, there were so many seemingly knee-jerk reactions. As things have continued to progress, more news comes out that says that, or there were these other underlying issues that contributed to, right? As a black man, right, and as black men, we're very fluent in the narrative of, well, there's these other underlying issues that get brought into conversations once decisions have already been predetermined and made. And this feels consistent in the example of our chief. And I wonder what is left for us to do. Black community isn't monolithic.
No.
It never has been intended to be, which is why we can have black folks that have varying degrees of desires when it comes to public safety. You talk to some black folks, they're like, yes, we want more police. You talk to other black folks, they're like, no, we don't need police. You talk to some black folks and they're like, why weren't those cameras turned on? You talk to other black folks, they're like, we don't need cameras, right? Like there isn't a consensus around blackness.
No.
But this isn't about what does black say, what does brown say. It's what is the relationships inviting,
Right.
and how do we stay connected to each other's human while building a collective, while building a community together. It feels like this administration, in many ways, is less concerned about the relationships and more concerned with the platitude. Maybe more concerned with the power and less concerned with the privilege. These are things that really come forward for me when I'm watching the way this particular administration moves. I'm wondering for you in your years of service, what feels familiar, and even in what you're hearing in community from other folks that might be whispering and be still tethered to organizations and entities and not feeling like they could say the thing out loud. What are some of the things that you're hearing, the murmurs?
A lot of it is, here we go again. One term, so start, stop. This person, aired over here, so they got to go. And so it's a sort of very rigidity, and almost, I guess it's a gotcha. And I talked to you, and you've talked to me about contextual communication. So trust the community, trust the citizens, the residents of Seattle, to understand if you're struggling. Trust if you need them to help you along the way. Getting out into the community, having listening sessions, those things, if perceived as being genuine, again, are you really interested in what I have to say? There are people out there that I talk to who's like, no, I'm not going to talk to the city council. I'm not going to talk to the mayor because they're not going to listen to what I have to say. They don't care. And that's an indictment on the civic health of this community. Again, that's just a couple people that I've talked to. Other ones just roll your eyes and say, well, we'll see what happens in 3 years. And I'm like, that's not acceptable either. That's very passive. And that's us benefiting from some amount of privilege that we can say, well, we'll just wait 3 years.
Yeah.
You know where I live, and I'm on a double dead end. And one time somebody said, well, what are you doing? And I said, I'm picking up garbage. And they said, well, why are you picking up garbage? I said, because I don't like garbage on our streets, and I'm hoping that A, I can get it done, and B, maybe people will follow my role model, follow my lead. Oh, well, thank you. Went inside and shut the door. The whole point was I can look at that garbage and be irritated, upset, pissed off, or I can just go out there and do something about it. I'm walking anyway. And so, I want people to have sovereignty and autonomy over themselves and over their family and their community, and take that with you to those who have the privilege of being our electeds. So that's why today's so important. Let people know what you're thinking and feeling through your ballot box. Gosh, we've got all these email. I'm an advocate. I send a lot of. I used to send a lot of emails to the city, the county, and the state. It doesn't take that long. What if they don't listen? Well, I'm trying, and so I want more people to do that. And we and I both have a concern about young people. Young people have to see me, the elder, you, not yet an elder, engaging in and pressuring our electeds to lead with integrity. If they have values, to tell us what those values are, to be elected because those are their values and these are their policies, and we hold them accountable to what they've said. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to be engaged. I love that word, engaged, because it's showing up and it's lending your voice. Sometimes it's lending your hands. And you can start in that area in which you have the most immediacy. And so that to me is my immediate neighborhood. Shout out to Upper Rainier Beach. It's my family now in many places. And it's this community that I know and love. And so I think that's what's driven me along the way. And I hope others will do that also and do it more actively and better than I did, or more effectively than I did.
Yeah. I want to tie a couple things together that you shared that are beautiful through lines. Number one, like, pick up your trash, right? And if it's in your community, it's your trash, right? It may be in front of your neighbor's yard, but it's your trash if it's your community. And that speaks to a deeper sense of, like, if there's something that is impacting one of us, then it's impacting all of us. This immediately brings me back to the neighborhood of Beacon Hill that you grew up in with your family. This understanding of, like, yes, there's us, but there's a broader us as well that I'm connected to. And if it's happening to me, then it's happening to we. And I need to be in service to the we because that's being in service to me. Right? And you've lived that way with this understanding of the significance of relationship. And relationship has followed you everywhere you've gone. Even in your career as an attorney, where you were most effective was in your ability to see the human behind the product, to connect with the people before the product was important, which followed you into Rainier Scholars, which followed you into Solid Ground, which followed you into United Way, and which you brought with you this evening in this space that we share, and into the relationship I've been able to benefit from over all these years. We're going to go to a quick break and then come back. And I'm going to invite you to a closing thought. More on that when we return. Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you,
My
Sean.
name's Deontay Damper, and I want to talk to you about something real. Mental health, substance use, alcohol use, things many of us often carry in this community, often in silence. What a lot of people don't know is this: crisis care services in King County are free, and they're available 24/7 for every single one of us. You can call 988 at any time and reach out to trained, compassionate counselors right here in this very region. And we're talking about people who listen and stay with you through the moment to figure out what you need. Now, if you want someone to come to you, they'll send their mobile crisis teams anywhere in King County. These mental health professionals and people with lived experience, not law enforcement, from DESC, YMCA, and the Sound, will show up and support you. And now there's another option. You can walk into one of King County's crisis care centers anytime for urgent mental health and substance use support. Just like you walk into urgent care for a broken arm, but this time it's for your mind and your recovery. No insurance, no appointments, just walk in. The first center is actually open right now in Kirkland, and people are already coming through those doors every day. And more centers are on the way, actually in the comings of years, including Seattle on First Hill, in South King County, on the east side, and one specifically just for our youth. We all know someone who struggles. I have. Maybe you have. Or someone you love. Asking for help can often feel hard, but you're not alone. You have someone to call. Someone who can show up, and now a safe place to go. These services are free, and they're here because communities demanded better. They voted to make it real. The doors are open. Walk in when you need to.
Welcome back to Tuesday. It's the pop-up. I'm here with Gordon McHenry, and I'm your host, Sean Goode. Gordon, it's been a blessing to have you here next to me this evening. There's so much more that I wanted to dive into. I wanted to talk about our time on the Partnership Council, the time that you so gracefully covered for me when I was caught live tweeting during a council meeting, and that turned into a whole situation. Or the time you like to talk about where I called in sick when you got dressed up and then dressed down by an outgoing governor, and the many long car rides and conversations that challenged the both of us. But I can promise you, I am a better man because the man that you've been in my life. It is such a gift to be able to be held and be witnessed by you. And every black man should benefit from having someone like you in their life who can see them before they can see themselves and walk with them as they move into the revelation of who they are. Thank you for that gift that you gave me, Gordon.
I'm glad it was perceived as a gift and that you appreciated it. I've had that blessing, and that is my hope that we all have somebody and many somebodies in our lives that sees us and helps us, navigate the many challenges of life. And I think, that is what I think we talked a little bit about the unfortunate and horrific shooting, but our young people need to be seen as young people. They need to be approached trying to understand what are the challenges in their life that results in violence being a solution or a behavior. And so it's not about judgment. It's about understanding, and it's about supporting them so that they can mature into adults and hopefully have a long life, a productive life, one where harming folks is very rare, and we're a better society for that. And I think that was the other thing that sort of I made a mistake of looking at the the comments under some of the news articles. And I was like, wow, we're back to wanting to crucify people immediately. And it's like there's no, it's just comments, but the comments reflect opinions, and they reflect ignorance, and they reflect fear and the stereotype. And it's harder on our black and brown and indigenous youth. And we need to name that. And, and as you and I have a bit of an age difference, and sometimes it's just seeing people and saying I can work with this person. I want to be around this person. I'll benefit, and maybe they'll benefit. And I think if we can approach that again as seeing young people for the potential they have, and not just judging them based upon what they've been charged with, or a mistake they've made, we'll be a better society.
And what consistently is true as a through line in this journey you've been on, and in this conversation we've had this evening, is relationship. Absolutely. When we're in relationship with the electeds, then the electeds move at a pace that honors that relationship. When in a relationship with our neighbor, then we are there for our neighbor in a way that honors our community. When we're in relationship with young people, we see them as possibilities and not problems. Right? When we're in relationship, life happens, and life can happen in a way where we get to grow together, live together, and flourish with one another.
Amen.
It is a beautiful collective flourishing to be a part of when I'm with you. Thanks,
Likewise. Thank you, Sean. You be good.
A couple things that I want to make sure I touch on, and we're a couple minutes past the hour. First and foremost, this Thursday, join the Converge family for the Coleman Commons grand opening from 8 to 10 p.m. Get ready for a curated exhibition of Black artists and photographers, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and live music. This is just the beginning of a new home for art and community. We'll see you there. I'm going to be there. I've talked about to my wife. She's coming. It's also First Thursday, so it's Art Walk in Pioneer Square. Okay. And so you can make a whole day out of it. Come in the early afternoon, experience Art Walk. Come and walk up to Converge, experience this space, and find yourself deeply saturated in the creativity of our community. Mm-hmm. Also coming up is the Black Business Leadership Conference. RUD's RUBB initiative will host the 5th annual Black Business Leadership Conference on Saturday, August 15th, 2026 at the University of Washington South Hub in Seattle. Started by Louis Rudd of Ezel's Chicken, the conference equips Black business owners with strategies, relationships, and resources needed to build sustainable businesses. My goodness, as an entrepreneur and being on this creative entrepreneurship journey over the past 2.5 years, being in a community with other small business owners is a blessing and a gift, and there's so much we can learn from one another. The last thing I will say is Converge exists because of community. It exists because of you. If you all determined that Converge wasn't necessary, it would go away. But you continue to demonstrate why it's here with your views, your shares, and the way you tap into the stream. And most importantly, the way that you advance the work by sharing the content, contributing to the content, and clicking on that QR code in the bottom corner. When you click on that QR code, it'll bring you to a place to invite you to journey with Converge in a different way. Maybe it's in a way you've already said yes. Maybe you're saying yes for the first time. But however you choose to contribute to this cause, know that what you're advancing is Black media. And every contribution you make is an affirmation that Black media matters. Again, thank you all for leaning into the pop-up on this Tuesday. Thank you for being with Converge as we continue to create content that honors you and also lifts up the brilliant and incredible minds that live in our region. Gordon McHenry, thank you for the gift of time. I love you, my brother.
Love you too, Sean. All right.
Folks, as always, I love you. You are held. You are complete, and you are enough. Until next time, be dope on purpose.